We'll record just as a backup. Okay, so yeah. Hello to everyone who's not watching this live, but in the future watching it. I'm Joss, founder and CEO of Flexperts, and I'm here today with our newest Flexpert, Tomasz, who is an expert in analytics, which means today I need to learn what analytics are and how we can use them in FlutterFlow to make our apps better and actually find out what our customers are doing and use it to, well, I don't know. We'll find out. So, Tomasz, I don't know if you want to just quickly introduce yourself and then, teach me about analytics.
Uh, Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm Tomasz. I'm product manager specialized in analytics. I have a technical background too, because like 10 years ago, I was a mobile developer, then I started to be project manager, and then I started to be product manager. And I find FlutterFlow too. So both these things are very connected with me. I enjoy from them all.
Nice. So, I guess, let's really start with the basics because although we have customers asking us about analytics a lot, and I don't even use them on our own website. I'm really bad about it. So, just give me the breakdown, explain it like I'm 5. What are analytics and why should I care about them?
If you build product, you need to know if this product works, because you have limited resources, you have limited time, limited money, and you need to know what is the right direction, and you need data for it. So you need to analyze what the user do, and be sure that what is happening in reality reflect what happened in mind, because usually it's opposite. We have
I shouldn't just come up with, I think this is what people want and then just do it. I should actually check.
yeah, we have idea that we build something and people use it, but it is idea, great that you have idea, but then we need to have data that tell us that they're using it in the way or they don't use it, and how they really use it. Because when we understand the users, then we can just think about our idea or how we can change product. And we can base not only about our biases, because everyone has a lot of biases. So we need to have something that helps us to contact with the reality.
Yeah, I'm going to, I know we talked about this before, and this is not a purely app-based example, but I always think about that company, or just, there are a lot of failed startups because they didn't do analytics, right? Like I won't say any names, but the one that I will say names, just not ones that I've worked for, but like that company Juicero that had the $400 like fancy ass juice squeezer, and it's like there was no market demand for that. Nobody wanted that product. And I think it can be the same thing with apps, right? We can get obsessed about like, oh, I need this feature for my app, but it's maybe not actually how people are using your app. You may find that the feature you think is not important is the one that people actually use. And those are the types of things you can see with analytics, right? When you do it right. Like which features people are using, which screens they're spending most time on.
Yeah, features for sure, what they exactly do in the app. But the more important thing is that to understand if our product at all makes sense for them. Is more focused about the main purpose of the product, and if it makes the real work or not, because focusing on feature is the next step.
Okay.
At the beginning, we need to focus on core value, right?
Okay. So let's go through the example. Like, say I've got an idea. What would my first, and I want to, before I spend a month building it in FlutterFlow, I should start doing this, or what's the process that you would, at what point in my, I've got an idea, at what point should I care about analytics?
Okay, so there are a few frameworks that can help answer this question. I personally use the one called Lean Analytics, and is very nice and easy to understand framework.
I think I have an image of that. How I came prepared for once in my life. The Lean Analytics framework.
Yes,
this is what you're talking about, right?
So we have 5 steps here. So when you're starting building product, at first you need to focus on empathy. So sometimes you even don't need product to do it. It is just idea, and you need to check if this idea is real. And so there are so many things that you can do. But the first thing that what you can do is that you have idea, tell about it a few people who are really people who can use it, the product. Okay.
Okay.
Or not just for your friend, but for someone who can use it, and wait for his reaction.
I think that's key. I think my personal way of getting feedback in this way, which is not analytics based, it's more like ad hoc, is spamming people on WhatsApp, not necessarily people who like me, and with zero context. Because my rule of thumb is that, like, if someone actually asks me, what the hell did you just send me? That looks cool. That's my like sense that, okay, they're not just telling me it's nice to be polite, you know? English people often do that. They're like, oh yeah, it looks cool. But if I just send it to them and they actually, it's like somebody I don't really know well, I don't explain it to them, I just send them a link and they click it and open it and then they're interested enough to ask me a question. For me, that's my very first like validation that this is something maybe interesting.
Yeah, and enthusiasm is the something that you have to have, right? And the higher enthusiasm, and you're building something better. If you're building something not useful for them, they say, of course, yeah, that's a very good idea.
Exactly.
Right? Completely different the conversation. So for sure, you can do a lot of things without building any product, just only maybe building a landing page.
Exactly, a landing page.
There was a case of Tinder when they built the first version, and they just sent out 500 emails to unknown people about it as Tinder, and you can register something, and 80% of them answer. So
really?
80%.
Wow, that's a crazy number.
Look at this number. My God, this as I can see, Tinder is a big business.
Because the average click on a YouTube link is like 2% or something. And I think I'm sure maybe we'll get to that later about what kind of numbers to actually expect. But I remember one of the companies of fintech I was working for, they asked people like, would you use a money sending service for like sending money internationally? Yeah. And in order to like test demand or whatever. So they went and they asked their customers, they asked some of their best customers, like most tech companies do, which I think is a mistake. But they sent out this email, people responded, they all said they would use it. So they spent 6 months building it. They built it and nobody used it. And it was because they didn't ask the question really right. They didn't ask, do you actually send money? They just asked like, would you use it? And so if people ask like, yeah, that'd be a cool feature, I guess. But they don't actually send money internationally, then it doesn't. So you have to get the question right, no?
Yeah, exactly. So for sure, you need to have enthusiasm. Another step that can help you is that when you start talking with people and they start to help you, and they say, okay, that's a good idea. Maybe you can add this. Oh, I like it. So they can be more engaged with you because they really like it. It's another thing. It is a big topic. It's more about customer development.
Yeah.
But now it's 2024, and we are in a little bit different situation, because in the past, when you would like to validate product, you need to spend actually a few months of development and $100,000 mostly. But now we have something like FlutterFlow, and you can build something in weeks. So something is even better to build something very small in few weeks, and people can react on the real software, because now it's not expensive. A lot of techniques designed for customer development and this first phase was most useful in the past when development was much more expensive.
Yeah.
Now it's much cheaper, so you can spend less time in this area and more time to build something in few weeks and starting checking it, because you have something that you can use, and this is much more reliable test.
Exactly. So it's better to, rather than build 10 things you think, 10 features or whatever that you think people might like, it's better to do one and then test it and then change it and test it and change it and test it and change it and test it. No? So in terms of, where does that fit in terms of this graph we're looking at? So growth rate, explain this graph to me.
First, empathy. But in empathy, we need to add one more thing. It's not only about building a product that people likes and want to use. It is not enough. They need to somehow pay for it. Sorry.
What? I thought investors just give you free money when you do a startup.
Somehow it means that they don't need to give you money. They can find different ways for earn money. but the goal is to be sure that you build something that there is a chance for paying.
Yeah,
right?
there's some, because that's a big difference, right? It's like these graduated stages. It's like, yeah, that sounds cool, to like actively taking a step to, like with the Tinder thing, registering their email address. That's an active step they're taking. And the biggest active step is giving you money, right?
Yeah, giving money or something that give you money, because
Yeah.
there are different ways to earn money. But my friend who is a successful investor, he always, when I come to him with a new idea, we discuss it, and after it, he showed me that the idea is bad. He always says something like, "The world is full of amazing problems and solutions that will nobody pay." Right?
Yeah, no.
So you need to find a problem that is important, the best if it reflects your values, but somehow you need to find a way to earn on it.
Mhm.
Just so this is the part of empathy, that you have
Okay.
feeling, okay, I have idea, a lot of people tell me that it's good, they
And
support
that they would pay for it.
I
Yeah.
see a space for paying. You can check it even during conversation,
Mhm.
that you can ask someone, can you pay for the first version of the app?
Mhm.
How much? Give me
Yeah.
give me this $50. If he give you this $50,
Give me your money.
it is real reaction. It's not only about talking. Yeah? So this is empathy, but the most important thing is that this empathy can be much more smaller now than in the past, because we
Yeah.
start building, and then we can validate our ideas much faster with new technology, and we are going to state stickiness. And in stickiness, stickiness means that people return to your product and do the job of this product. It means that they
Mhm.
do how it is designed. And here we need to define the right KPI. And this is tricky, it's sometimes complex, but
What's a KPI? Sorry, for some people who don't know.
okay, KPI is key product indicator. So
Okay.
it means that we need to define a metrics that helps us understand if people do something well or not.
So, like, did they download the app? Did they actually finish the onboarding? Did they go to? So, if you have a 5-page onboarding process, you might see what the drop-off rate is from page to page to page, and then more than that, did they come back within 30 days? Did they actually sign into their account within 90 days? Those types of things, right?
Yeah, of course. And there are two things. A first one, there are good metrics and shitty metrics. We don't call it shitty metrics. They call it vanity metrics.
Vanity metrics. Okay. And
But
what are those?
is metric, for example, that you build the app and you have app downloads.
Mhm.
1,000 people download my app in the last week. Yeah, I'm so good. No, not really. They download
It's
it.
like when politicians talk about numbers. It's just like it's just bullshit.
That's good that they download, but do they use it or not? And why
And
they?
I think this is actually really important also, I think, for not to go on a tangent, but for segmenting, because I think a lot of people get lost sometimes, which I kind of sometimes call death by data, right? And it's like not all data is equal. And the most important, if you've got 10% of your people who are actively using your product and happily paying for it, it's much more important every click that they make in your app than the other 90% of people who are not really using it, probably not willing to pay. They're not your real customers. So when you're looking at how many people clicked this button, or how much time did they spend visiting this part of your website, even, let's say, it's much, much more important to be able to segment out the 10% that are actually your customers somehow, and then just focus on what they're doing, because they're the only ones you care about, because they're the only ones that are going to pay you, basically, right?
Yeah, and this is very important, especially that you will have a lot of people on your homepage that just see the page and left, and you shouldn't count them very well. You should count the people who really start engaging with your product. At least they sign up, at least.
Yeah.
And you
And
could.
how do you sorry, I don't mean to interrupt and keep jumping around, but like, how do you choose that? Like, let's go back to a really specific example. I'm building an app in FlutterFlow. I'm building a dating app, or I'm building an e-commerce app. Like, what are some of the ways that I would actually, you said sign up is obviously one metric that I would be able to check in FlutterFlow, like how many people completed the sign up process, what are the other ways that I can tell who are my real customers and who are my just kind of wannabe customers? They want to be part of the cool thing or whatever.
Okay, so you can define a lot of KPIs and a lot of metrics, and that can be painful because you never know what should use and what is the real number. And the goal of these frameworks is to help you and to
Okay.
find the metrics that now is the most important one. And
Yeah.
so if you face stickiness in building product, the most important one is if the people return to my product and do the main job of this product. They do it. Or not. Example, you build a Uber app. Uber app. So the main action, the most important action is that someone book a drive. Not search for a drive, book the drive. Why not? Example, try to imagine a person who has Uber application on your phone and Bolt application on your phone. And they entering to your app only for checking the price. Oh, you are more expensive. How is Bolt? This is not a real customer. We need to know how many people book this drive, but this metric still will be not as sufficient because you will get number 50, 100, 150 people booked in the last week. Good, it is rising. It's good sign, but it is not relative. We need something better. It means that we need to define this user and divide them by number of all users. Oh, your cat.
We have a new host apparently. I'm not even going to try to stop her. So it's not, you're saying it's not relative. 150 could be big, it could be small. We don't know.
Yeah. So let's imagine that you will compare, divide just number of people who book a drive in last week with number of people who just enter to your app and they are registered. And you see, because if someone is not, we don't want to count that someone ran the Uber app and close it.
Exactly.
It has to be registered. He add his phone number and this real user, but he's returning last week. So we're comparing these people who returning last week to the people who drive, and we have a percentage.
Yeah, we have context. We have context for the number, no?
Yeah, so we have numbers like 10%, 15%, 20%, and that's good metric. That's good.
No, I think it's my one thing. After working in politics my whole life, like I hate the fact when you just see a number and it's like the NHS is getting an extra £1 million of funding for healthcare, and it's like, okay, but their budget is 143 billion a year. So really, you just bought like an extra 5 minutes of a doctor's time that has not actually changed anything. But they never, often in the news for politics type thing, they never give the context. But it's the same in apps, no? 150 users. If you had 10,000 people sign up and only 150 book the taxi, then okay, there's a lot of potential demand, but your app is clearly not meeting. People thought it could solve their problem, but it didn't when they got into it, right? That's kind of the conclusion you would make there, no?
And yeah, exactly. And there is one more thing that you have to do. It is hard, but it's very efficient. Is that you're drawing the line before release. It means that let's think about Uber app. How does it mean that the app works well? So let's assume that if 10% of people who are returning booking, this 10 is good or bad. You can discuss it. It is a complex discussion. Why 10%, not 5, not 15, 25? But you find a number that you think that is good number. You define this number before release. Tell everyone it should be 15. And after release, you see something. But you need to do it before release. It is like a scientific approach to the thing.
Yeah, otherwise what happens is you go, oh, 10%, that seems good. And you don't have, and I guess, I know the one metric we use for SEO type, when we're doing SEO work, that we have this kind of breakdown. It's like 30% of, if you're ranked number 1 on Google, I don't know who still Googles stuff, but I guess some people do. But for people who's like 30% of people click the first link, then it's like 25 click the second link, 15%. If you're not on the first page, it's not even. And then the I think the conversion, it's like 2.2% is like a kind of Google like industry kind of wide standard of somebody who will go to a page and take action. So it's very, very low, 2.2%, right? So if you're getting 5%, that's actually a good number because the industry, the average, or I was looking at my TikTok analytics and the average view duration, even for a video, I was like, oh, lots of people are liking it. They're watching it for 2.2 seconds. I don't even know how you can tell whether you like a video within 2.2 seconds, but clearly and I think for those video share sites on social media, they often have, 15-second watch time. That's considered like engagement because relatively that's just all that in reality people get. So you have to kind of pick a number. You can kind of Google around. You can also, I think, use your business case, I think. So it's a good thing, like if you think through, okay, I need 10% of people to book, or else I'm not making money because my app is costing this amount to market or whatever. Yeah, so I think that's an important thing as well. No.
Yeah, and then you can think what we can do if we have 5, what we can do if we have 15, what we can do with 1, right?
Exactly.
Because it doesn't mean that the idea or solution is bad. Maybe you need to change something, but the idea is that you need to think it before release.
Yeah.
Think about that. What should be more or less, and then, and that is the moment for Pivot to maybe change something more. But
okay. So going back to our example, I've got my FlutterFlow app. I've built a dating app. I've got people seem like they want it. I have now and I've had people sign up. They seem to be coming back maybe. So I've decided that they're sticky. They're registering. They're swiping a few times or something like that. What is the virality? What is this next step?
Okay, the last thing before we move to virality is about you have 5 stages.
Yeah.
If you are on one stage, you focus on it and you forgot about next stages. Because after virality, you have revenue. So you don't think about how much money you earn on the booking a drive.
Yep.
You have to earn something because that's the idea
the
of
point.
the point of entire app. But you don't think about margin. It's more, okay, they're paying for it. Great.
Yeah.
Don't optimize it here. This is very important. Now you're optimizing that they're returning and they should return in higher way. And if you are at the state when they're returning, you go to the next state when you have virality. So it means that you know marketing is expensive. Marketing is expensive. So you would like to find a way that new users invite new users. And you focus here. This product is, but you're doing it when your product is good.
Yeah.
Maybe
don't have people recommend bad products.
yeah. Don't do this face on bad product. Maybe you have only 100 users, but they really like it. They really like it. Okay, I have evidence that they really like it. They use it for the purpose. Okay, so how can I help them to spread it to different people? So you can, there are many ways. You can give referral programs. You have
refer a friend, earn $5 or something.
Or it is something called network effect. Is a very important concept that if the guy is joining to the system, it gives value to everyone else automatically.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like Airbnb. It's not valuable if there's only 2 properties listed, but if there's properties in every city, it's a good app to use because you can actually find somewhere to book. No?
It's not about that. It's more about Facebook. If you join Facebook,
got it.
You bring more value to the entire system because you have more users Facebook.
Yep.
One day you have everyone on Facebook. So why would quit Facebook if everyone is on Facebook?
Right? Exactly.
So if one more person joined to the system, it gives value to entire
everybody.
Yeah. So that is another way. It's a different topic. But the idea is that you have many ways. And Tinder is a great example because it was based mostly not on marketing designed by ads. It's mostly based on word of mouth.
Yeah,
and it was the best way.
I think you have to have this. I genuinely have been through especially the VC process. Like really, that's why people go for millions is because you need millions to advertise. And I think actually FlutterFlow is an interesting example that I don't think I'm sure they do spend some money on advertising, but compared to other products, I don't see necessarily ads for FlutterFlow. I don't know if you do, but I don't, right? I think that they did a really good job of building their community. Those power, listening to the power users, iterating and responding to people's feedback. And then maybe it went slower at first, but they weren't burning through money. So as long as you've got enough money to feed yourself and your cats, it's okay. And then you can try to find this, what makes it. You often actually in FlutterFlow, I guess they have this metric, right? Because you often get asked, how likely would you be to recommend FlutterFlow to a friend? And then you would do 1 to 10, no?
Yeah.
Which I think is like net promoter score or something, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So what are the other, how would you measure this virality in terms of like a practical, what is the thing that you would measure? Is it like clicking on a certain button in FlutterFlow, or how would you find out whether your people are referring other people?
The easiest way, if you would like to measure word of mouth, is that you stop your entire marketing. You see that number of users rising.
Okay, but what if you didn't have marketing because you're just in making an app in your mom? I'm building my app in my mom's bedroom. I have never done marketing before. How can I tell whether my people are referring people?
You need to have this minimal, at least your page, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somehow they need to find it, or you need to be in the App Store. I don't know. You have to do something, but the idea is that if you need to initially do something to touch few thousand users, but you don't need to software for it. What Tinder do? Tinder do the Tinder party. The Tinder party was like they call students.
Thought you'd never asked, Tomasz. Tinder party. Ooh.
How does it work? Because nobody at the beginning know what is Tinder. So I don't know what's Tinder party, but it's for free. So student is for free. Let's go there. And the idea is what they have buses or the places when you were able to join the party, but you need to register in Tinder.
Yeah.
And if you show your app with registration profile, you can enter to party. And they did party for 500 people. They joined. It was
that's really cool.
And they returned to home and wow, someone likes me. What does it mean?
You can also, I guess, you often get asked when you're signing up for services like, "How did you hear about us?" Yeah, is that actually? Do you think that's a valid metric? That's useful in your experience when they ask that?
It's for sure better than nothing.
Yeah, exactly. I guess everything is relative, right? So if you have no other data, you're at least finding out how people came to you in some way.
Yeah, if you have referral programs, you have referral codes, and you clearly see that someone refers you, right?
One thing I will say, and maybe we'll get into this a little bit when we get to the technical part of how you actually do all this stuff in FlutterFlow. But one thing that I've always thought is really cool is that because FlutterFlow, any FlutterFlow app can be embedded in an iframe. Yeah, so obviously you can have a web app, you can have a mobile app. Maybe you don't have a normal web app, you just normally have it on mobile, but you can still embed your sign-in page into your website so that the moment people are actually, because normally in my experience, there's a disconnect between people are clicking our links on social media or SEO or paid advertising or whatever, and then they're coming to our website. Then we're trying to convert them and get them to actually download and install the app, right? But we lose this connection and conversion ratio because it's very hard to connect the person who came from SEO with the person who installed the app, yeah? But with FlutterFlow, because you can actually put the sign up page directly inside the website rather than it being you sign up for an account and then you have to go to the app store or get redirected to the. I think that actually makes it easier to connect them, no?
Yeah, if you reduce one step, for sure it will be easier.
Yeah.
That step is better. But the important, if you have stickiness and you think about virality, wow, your product is good. And you are in
Thank you.
phase, and you can talk with investors without any problem. So
yeah, and I think the metrics are really, I mean, a lot of people who are building apps in FlutterFlow are looking to get investment. A lot of our clients are. A lot of ours have, we have an open competition for who's going to be the first IPO on the NASDAQ or something, but I will buy them a candy bar. But metrics are important, right? Like, I think that when you're going to, at least in my experience again, if you're going to pitch to VC, you either, if you've already done a startup before, they just want to know these basic questions like, okay, that logically I could see why there would be a problem there. I could see how this would maybe solve it. And I'm going to invest in 10 apps that are like this because one of them hopefully will work. Yeah, that's kind of the approach that I think VCs take. But then the longer you can go without going to an investor and just asking them to, hey, trust me, dude, it's cool, the better terms you will get on the money you raise. Like, I think FlutterFlow held off a long time before they raised investment, and I think they got a lot better deal on their 22.5 million they raised because they had more data about the people actually using it, because they had more evidence to show rather than just being like, it's cool, I've got a good app, you know.
Exactly. So this is very important to have this data, analyze this data, understand the data. Then you have a better discussion with your friends, with yourself, and with investors, with everyone.
So shall we go into the kind of, how do I do all this in FlutterFlow? Like, I mean, obviously I know that metrics are used not just in FlutterFlow, but do I just start, or do I need a tracking plan, or what? What's the kind of actual practical steps I can take?
So it starts from understanding business. You understand your business. So then you need to figure out about, okay, what are the right KPIs for my business? What I really need to measure? What is really important? And you can define like few metrics, only few, that is crucial. And then if you have these few crucial metrics, we need to create tracking plan. Okay, so tracking plan is the document that tells you what events we would like to track. Because product analytics systems has usually two parts. One part is that you're sending events, and events has parameters. So, for example, someone book a drive, right? This event book a drive, but it can have a few parameters. It's about price of this book or distance that of this drive, right? So you can pass event with information about this event in the context of the event, right?
So an event, sorry, again, pretend I'm stupid. An event, well, maybe I am, but an event is essentially anything that I create. I decide what the events are, right? So I decide that an event is going to be, which obviously may be linked, you know, in Firestore, I'm creating a document for a new ride, but I decide that this specific thing is the event. It's when somebody, obviously we say it common language, books a ride, but obviously there is some programmatic thing in your app that is happening that is the trigger, like clicking on a certain button, or a Firestore document being created in a certain collection that then is what is triggering this event, and some data from that thing, like as you said, the price that was booked or which destination it was, how long the ride was, it can go with the event. And where am I sending it?
You are sending it to the tool.
What is my tool?
Yeah, you need the tool. So you have few tools to product analytics. And so we go to the tools, but before we go tools, another concept is very important. One is event with properties, another is user property. So user property is information about the user. For example, someone registered. So we create his profile, his user profile, and you would like to add some value information about him. So for example, what is his age? Registered from what country? Right?
Okay.
So that information more related with the user, not with the action. Because as it's told, that segmentation is very important. And then you would like to split this audience, but the smaller audience that are more important for you about, I would like to analyze only people who joined last week, not.
I see. And so is the more data, the better? Like, so for instance, obviously I have a Firebase user ID, right? Is that something I would send with each event so that I know which person did it, right?
You do something opposite. You try to define as least as possible.
Oh, as few things as possible, yeah?
Yeah, as few as possible, yeah.
Okay, and that's why. Why is more data better?
Because you know what happens when you have too much data. And
death by data, I told you.
data, and it makes your life more complex, not easier.
So it's the kind of situation where you start to believe that the 5G network rollout is what is causing coronavirus, yeah? Because you have too much data and it looks like it's a match, but it's not really meaningful at all.
Yeah, it's not meaningful, right? So
this video is going to get blocked now because they're going to think I'm talking about vaccine conspiracy theories.
Okay. So the goal is that is why at the beginning you define these main KPIs, the really the main thing, and let's focus on it. You don't have time and money focused on everything. Let's focus on this. What is most important? It brings your business to next level or not? That's the goal.
Yeah. And so when you're very small, again, you can't be, you're only one person. You can't be spending huge amounts of time on this. So you need to just pick things like, as you said, signups. Are they paying? Are they completing their profile? Kind of some basic stuff. And then as you grow, you do it, you keep going. And as you grow, you have more and more and more of these kind of tests and events, right? But on day one, I don't need to have an event for everything. No, I just have a few.
Yeah, just only for the most important parts. So it's like you do basic user journey, because the first question is, do people really use it? It's never,
exactly. Like, are they actually signing up? Yeah.
Really use it? Do they sign up and do they book something or not?
And can I tell some of this stuff? Like, for instance, can I know how often a user is opening my app?
Yeah, you can know it. You will know it.
And okay, are we going to get to that? Are we going to get to that later? About like, how would I know? Because is there some button action in FlutterFlow, or I have to do some? How can I tell when a random person in Belarus or Canada opens my app? Is there some
the event calls return from background?
Okay, all right. We'll get to that, I guess. So I'll let you. So this is the last thing on here. Then is the user identification, and then you were going to tell me which tool I should use, so I can stop listening and start signing up.
You have a lot of tools of the market, and you have like few market leaders.
Okay.
And I experiment with many of them, and many of them are good, but the pricing is important too, right? The pricing is important too, and so. And I found a tool that I use very often. It's called Mixpanel.
Okay.
It is not that everyone has to select Mixpanel, but there are very good reasons to do it. And the first one is that it is really mature.
Yeah, I mean, we used to use this at like major fintechs use this, big companies use this. Yeah. But does that mean it's expensive?
Exactly, it's not. Because if you have startup and you just started a startup, you can apply for getting it for 1 year for free. 1 year free is a very good price.
Yeah, I like free. Free is good.
To be honest, after 1 year, you will for sure know that the product works or not.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't made enough money to pay for Mixpanel by that point, maybe that's the biggest metric that you are not successful.
Yes. So, but even if later, for most startups, very early stage, you don't send like more than a few $100,000 EUR per month. This costs less than $100 per month.
Okay.
So the pricing will not stop you.
So this is a bit like Google Analytics that I would use for my website.
Actually, you cannot call Google Analytics as a product analytics tool.
Okay.
Google Analytics is a tool. It's for free. That's why everyone use it, and it's very helpful when you would like to understand the acquisition part, how people enter to your website.
Yep.
That's useful. But if you really want to create complex query about what the people do, how exactly work in details, you will die with Google Analytics. And you probably you didn't die because you never seen how it can be easy. The most powerful part of this tool is that is his great UX. So when I used to work in agency, we have a discussion with product owners and advisors, and they start discussing about, let's think about building something like this. And I just run Mixpanel and I create charts in 15 seconds.
Okay.
And no, don't do it because we have like only 1% of people do it.
Oh, okay, that's what my company should have done before the money transfer thing that I mentioned. Yeah. They should have done that.
The most important part is this tool is very powerful, but easy to learn and has great effects. So it means that you can ask very complex question in a few seconds.
Okay.
If you would
So
like to do with Google Analytics, good luck.
yeah, no comment. Okay, so how I sign up for this for free. I've decided what my metrics are. My metrics for my dating app that I've built in my mother's basement is that I want to see whether people are signing up and whether they create their profile, add a photo, and like swipe. Yeah, I've decided that if they do that, that's a good customer. So how do I actually link this to my FlutterFlow app?
You need to write some easy code.
Some code? That sounds difficult. Okay.
It is not so difficult. It's more about just sending events. And so you, in FlutterFlow,
yeah. So if my event is like, let's say, finish the profile page, yeah. So that means like they've given their name, they've given a photo, what would what would the steps sort of be? I see we have something written for this, so hopefully that's right.
Yeah. So you need to define the action with parameters. For example, you have this action book drive. So you defined action Mixpanel book drive. And inside this function, you just initialize Mixpanel and just send this event with parameters. And that's it.
Okay, so what is this? Walk me. So this is like a example of an event sent to an anonymous user. Let's not do an anonymous user. Okay, so sign up. This is what I want to track. Yeah. So basically, what this is a custom action, I believe, in FlutterFlow. So and we've got some code here, and it says that. Do I need to know what any of this is, or can I just copy paste this?
So to be honest, this code was written before environments was introduced.
Oh yeah, so it's easier now, basically.
So it will be easier. This first part will be removed.
Okay.
So you will just see only from this moment Mixpanel in it. So you initialize Mixpanel, and if you are logged in user, you need to run a method called identify. It means that, and you have user ID. User ID is the ID of the user in your database. So you're telling Mixpanel.
And is that going to be the same ID as like my Firebase UID, or do they have a different ID in Mixpanel, and I need to like connect?
No, you're using exactly the same one as on your backend.
Oh, that's easy.
So you're just telling Mixpanel, I am this guy.
Yep. Okay.
And then I send track event.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it. You send the event. But sometimes event has parameters. This is an example when event doesn't have parameter. Maybe another example has.
So is this a name? Again, pretend I'm stupid. Is this the name that I've chosen? So this is have I created this in Mixpanel first, or this create account succeed? And how does it? I run this action basically when someone clicks the button, right? So if my action is like create a Firestore document, blah blah blah. Just at the end of that action chain, I add this as a custom action, and that's how then it is linked, right? Because it's like they've done this set of actions.
Yeah, so this even create account success is not when you click, but when you succeed. So it means that you create a profile. Create a profile, you have this new user ID.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you have new user ID, then you need to just use this value for it, right?
Okay. Here, this next one, example of an event logged in a user with user profile. So what is this one tracking? Project.
Yeah, it is this example. Okay, to be honest, I need to fix it. but the idea is you can see here.
We were doing so well.
You can see here that we can track with parameters. We can track with parameters, right? And then so I define properties like added photos that we can send.
Yeah. So basically, but if at a very basic level, I don't need to tell Mixpanel doesn't actually, in reality, know what any of this is, right? It doesn't know what added photos are. It doesn't know what my app is. All it knows is what I tell it, right? So essentially, if I have any kind of action flow in my app, and I decide that I'm going to put a Mixpanel event into it, and I decide I can give it literally, I could say becoming a Hogwarts professor, wizard, whatever. I can give it whatever name I want. It doesn't actually, because Mixpanel will then, every time I say that someone has done this, become a wizard at Hogwarts, it will say, okay, I guess another person has become a wizard at Hogwarts. It doesn't really, obviously it's better to give it names that are actually meaningful, but Mixpanel doesn't really know what's going on. It just knows what I'm telling it, right?
Yeah.
Did I understand this correctly?
Yeah, exactly. So you define everything. This is your word, your product. It's everything on your control.
Okay, that makes sense. So literally I can add this custom action that you've kind of got here. You've got a few examples, and I think in the full guide that you're selling for people, there's more of these. It's basically everything they need to do, and then they just need to kind of change some of these names and decide what they want to track, and then they can start using this, right?
Exactly.
Perfect. Can you do it for me? I'm lazy because I should be using this.
Yeah, I think that when you define just few events, everything will be so easy.
It would tell me a lot more about my customers, I have to say. It would be very helpful.
Here is about that. In Mixpanel, you can send events not only from the front end and mobile apps, but from backend too. It's very useful because there are actions that can happen when your user is not using your app.
Okay.
And
so yeah, this would be, and these would essentially be like cloud functions in Firestore, right? So essentially they're automatic things that are happening. Or do you mean background events like when the app is not running?
Example, you have Uber app and the driver send you a message.
Okay.
And you should know that drivers send you a message because important action in entire user flow.
Mm-hmm.
And you cannot.
I might track how many users. You mean send me the operator or me the writer?
To you as the person who booked the drive. And then we can ask Mixpanel, okay, what is the average time of response after driver called the user? And you see that it takes like 15 seconds or 50 seconds.
Yeah. And so if you would see that basically, let's say 90% of messages are not even getting replied to by a driver, this would maybe tell you that the system, it's not making it obvious to the driver that they have a message. Like that type of thing, no?
For example.
And so maybe you go and look at your screen and you're like, oh, maybe it's because that button is really small and there's no like pop-up or something like that.
Or 10 different hypotheses, but you know, all analysis that you have, it is qualitative data.
Okay? It's real data because you can't trust what people say about your app, but you can trust how they actually do it.
Quantitative and qualitative. So quantitative, you have numbers. Okay, you know that 20% losing something, but you need qualitative data to understand why. You need to talk with people. You need to have user recordings. You need to have more complex to understand why it happens. But numbers tell you that something happens.
You just don't know why or what. Well, you do know what happened, right? You just need to figure out why.
Yeah, of course, analytics can help you. For example, you have a registration funnel, and you see that we're losing 30% of people on this step.
Mm-hmm.
So you know that we are losing, but you know why. But you can use the Mixpanel to it. For example, let's split this funnel into operation system. Oh, I see that we're losing 60% on Android and nobody on iOS. Maybe we have bug on Android.
Okay, so I have to share a personal example of this because this is my death by data example. It was exactly about this when I worked in marketing in a funnel. And apologies to the people who were involved if they hear this or ever watch this. But essentially, what the company had a funnel, and it was, I have to say the details. It was a fintech company, and it was a fintech company, and they were looking at. They had some target in order for their investors that they had to get. We had to convert 34% or whatever it was of people who had signed up to the key metric and event was them activating the card. Yeah. Now it was free to get this bank account card and it was sent to you within 24 hours, right? So basically like the next day, sometimes 48 hours. And then at that point, they then had to fill in some more information. Then they had to take a photo of their ID. It was obviously a banking app. So quite a few, steps, right? And they were losing customers at each step. And so we were testing things and I was asked to test, like telling the customer that it would be free if they signed up within like 4 days or something. And they were using Mixpanel for this. It's not Mixpanel's fault, but the thing is they were really looking at the wrong thing because clearly something is wrong. I don't know how many times you've got a new bank card. Do you wait 2 weeks before you open it? No, you open it and use it because it's your bank card, right? So clearly there is just like a fundamental flaw here. If like 90% of people are ordering a bank card, and then despite the fact that it shows up the next day, they've already forgotten what it was and why they ordered it and what they wanted to do with it. So there are some, I guess, limits in that case to the data. As you say, it can only tell you what is happening. It can't make the right decisions for you necessarily.
Yes, yes. So it is very important how you define these events, and because the events helps you understand what's going on, but it is only part of the entire journey.
Yeah.
It's things that you can measure easily. You cannot measure the mind very easily. But
I mean, exactly. That's the part where you as an entrepreneur, if you know your product and you know your market, and it goes back to that very first stage, that empathy, right? You've actually talked to real customers and figured out why they wanted to pay you money for your app. Because in this case, I'll tell you exactly what the problem was. Essentially, people thought it was a credit card. They thought they were just late night Facebook. We were spending $8,000 a month on Facebook ads, and they were being offered something for free that was zero. We made it so frictionless to sign up. It was too easy. And so it was so easy to get something for free, and they just kind of seemed to think that it was going to be free money, right? So obviously loads of people signed up. Then when it arrived, they realized it was not free money. They didn't care about it. And this had a big, every card you print costs money, it's not free. So you have to, have a little bit of, that's why the AI can't take over entirely.
Yeah, so you need to use both sides, is qualitative and quantitative, right? So here you have numbers that tell you something going on. Numbers can understand you what is going on more, but then you need to move to more there's conversation, checking, analyzing videos, and more things to have a full picture. But this is the first step. If you don't have numbers,
then you're just guessing, right? You're just like, maybe it's this, maybe it's this, maybe it's that, maybe it's that. You have to have numbers in order to have a real conversation and decide what to do next, no?
exactly.
And I guess that's where the last thing comes in, which is what if people have been very interested in what we've been talking about and they're a little bit overwhelmed and they want some help? They're a little bit not confident. Maybe they don't have a programming background. Is this something you can help them with? Who can help them with their Mixpanel in terms of,
Yeah, I can help in every phase. So I can help with creating tracking plan because it requires discussion about business and finding the KPIs. Then we can help with implementation this event, setting Mixpanel, and make it works. Then testing everything because testing is important. Bugs in analytics are quite expensive. Because
they can make you go down the wrong.
Yeah, you see the word that not exist. And then when it's working, we need to extract this data in Mixpanel, so create the right dashboard that show you the things that we discussed at the very beginning. And can support every stages. But it looks like when we build everything and we have this dashboard, then we have, okay, we need something like this, and we need to make it better. And this is a loop, like a development cycle. You just to improve it, we make it better.
To constantly test, because you can't set up every event, as we said. You can't set up every event and test everything, but you just need to start small, start with a little bite-sized piece of analytics, and then just keep on adding more and understanding how people are actually using it. Because also, if you try to test 10 things at once, it's like you often see this when people are debugging stuff, like just something in FlutterFlow. They're like, oh, I think it's this, I think it's that, maybe I need to change this. And if you don't really go at it like one thing at a time, okay, let me change this and test. Let me change this and test. And it's the same thing with testing your customers, right? If you change the color of your app and the size of the sign up button and the you don't actually know which one of those things was what caused the improvement or the not improvement, the downward. So you really have to actually test them one at a time, no?
Yeah.
And be very have a plan.
Yeah. So it is just a part of the development cycle, and you need it. But my goal is to more empower people. It's not about just doing everything. It's more about learning them how to do every phase, how to use this tool, how to extract data, because it is not very complex. Just maybe start is harder.
Exactly. There's a little bit of a learning curve, just like with FlutterFlow. There's a little bit of a learning curve, but yeah, well, that's why we're excited to have you as our newest Flexpert, Tomasz, because I do think you can empower people, and I should not be lazy and do my own Mixpanel, but for my own website. But one thing at a time. And yeah, so I will post from your brand new FlexPerts page. I will put a link to your profile in here for anyone that's interested. And yeah, any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I promised to fix this part with development
Yeah.
to be sure that the new support the newest version of FlutterFlow. So I will do it today.
Awesome.
And the last thing is that I really love to teach people this thing. And sometimes I create workshop that I can teach them how the Mixpanel can we use Mixpanel to extract all this very fancy and complex thing in easy way based on the data produced by the product of the owner. This is the best. It's not about learning someone on the just random data. It should be based on
so like if they set up with you a thing, then come back 3 months later and actually see what has been created in terms of the data and what they should interpret it, not be overwhelmed by it, and That's really cool.
Yeah, because the Mixpanel has easy part and more complex charts. Is a lot of stuff. But at the beginning, you need to basic stuff, and you need to do it by yourself quickly.
It's like making the foundations of a house. No, it's important to get the foundations of the house correct on day one, even if they're just kind of a basic, concrete thing. But you need to have that ready, and then you can start to build up in different ways. No, but it's worth. There's a good return on investment for spending time and money if you need some help to have someone like you come in and set things up correctly, think about it, and then leave it and let the app grow, let them get their customers, and then come back. Okay, because you set up the foundations, now we can actually figure out what's going on over the last 3 months and how to take your app kind of to this next growth phase. No?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I hope that's been interesting for anyone who has joined us either now or in the future. How's the future? And yeah, this is Tomasz. We'll be seeing more of him hopefully on our videos. You'll be seeing more of me hopefully on our videos because we'll start. We are going to our growth phase now. So and yeah, there will be links in the bio if you want to chat with Tomasz about your app and analytics, or if you want a copy of this guide. That will be available there on his profile too. So yeah, thanks, Tomasz.
Thank you very much.
See you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.